Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a huge fundamental shift in human capability, something that could unlock, well, incredible progress.
Happening really fast, like something out of science fiction.
Exactly. But here's the twist. It also feels, paradoxically, kind of normal.
That's the core tension, isn't it? That's what we're digging into today.
Right. We're doing a deep dive into Sam Altman's essay, The Gentle Singularity.
Yeah, focusing just on what he puts forward in that piece.
Our mission here is really to pull out the most important insights from his writing. We want to get a handle on his perspective on AI, where we are, where he thinks we're headed pretty soon.
And crucially, what it might actually mean for you living through this period.
Altman kicks things off with a statement that's pretty striking, but also quite understated in a way.
What's that?
He says, we are past the event horizon. The takeoff has started, which sounds, really dramatic.
It does, like red alerts, machines taking over tomorrow, that kind of vibe.
But then he immediately follows up with, at least so far, it's much less weird than it seems like it should be.
Right. He points out the obvious stuff. No robots strolling down the street.
Yeah.
We haven't cured all diseases. Space travel isn't like catching a bus.
The big, flashy sci-fi future isn't quite here yet.
Exactly. So there's this gap, this sort of disconnect. But his argument is that even without that everyday weirdness, the really hard part, that's already done.
The fundamental science bit.
Yeah, the breakthroughs, the core insights that led to things like GPT-4, and he mentions O3 as well. He thinks those are behind us.
And he believes these systems are already, quote, smarter than people in many ways.
And massively amplifying what humans can do. So the power's here, the foundation's built, even if your daily life doesn't feel like Blade Runner just yet.
Which brings us to, what is this current AI power like? He talks about systems like ChatGPT.
Already used by hundreds of millions of people daily for really important things.
And that scale, he points out, creates this really interesting dynamic. Because so many people are using it, even a tiny improvement in the AI's capability, something maybe technically minor, can have a massive positive impact.
Right, because it's multiplied by all those users. A small boost helps millions.
Yeah. But, and this is the scary part, the opposite is true too.
A small mistake, a little bit of misalignment.
Scaled up across that huge user base, he says, can cause a great deal of negative impact. So yeah, the progress might feel gentle day to day.
But the stakes are incredibly high because of that scale. Get it slightly wrong and it affects a lot of people.
So looking forward, Altman actually put some, rough dates on things. He sketches out a possible timeline for the near future.
Okay, let's hear it. What's he predicting? Or suggesting, maybe?
He suggests that 2025, which is, basically now,
Yeah, we're living it.
is seeing AI agents arrive that can do real cognitive work.
And he gives an example.
Computer code. He says the ability to write code will never be the same.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing tools changing that whole field, right?
Definitely feels like that's happening. As someone who watches that space, it's a very concrete shift. What about 2026?
By 2026, he thinks we'll likely see systems capable of figuring out novel insights. Okay, that's a big step up, not just summarizing what's known, but actual new discoveries.
That's the implication, generating genuinely new knowledge.
And then for the physical world, robots and stuff, what about 2027?
His prediction, or maybe projection, is that by 2027, we may see robots arrive that can do complex tasks in the real world.
So taking the AI brain and putting it into a body that can act.
Essentially, yeah. So the progression he lays out is, wow, incredibly fast.
Yeah, changing coding now, new insights next year, physical robots the year after.
Given that kind of speed, how does he see it changing, human work? Our general capabilities?
He expects AI will make it easier for more people to create things, software, art, that kind of stuff, lowering the barrier to entry.
Okay, democratizing creation a bit.
But he adds the experts, people who really learn how to use these tools effectively. They'll likely still be way more capable than novices.
So it's an amplifier for skill, not necessarily a leveler.
Exactly. The tools get better, but how you use them still matters. A lot.
Makes sense.
And he points to a really striking change he sees coming by 2030.
What's that?
Just the sheer amount one person can achieve compared to, say, 2020. He thinks many people will figure out how to leverage this huge increase in personal output.
And that's where it really hits home for, anyone listening.
Right. How much more could you get done if your effective capability was multiplied 5 times?
Yeah.
10 times more?
what projects could you finally tackle? What problems could you solve? It just changes the game for individuals.
Completely. But even with all these radical changes, Altman also makes a point about what might not change much.
What does he think stays the same?
He suggests that in the most important ways, the 2030s might feel, well, pretty familiar.
Like what?
People still caring about their families, expressing creativity, playing games, swimming, being outdoors, the core human stuff.
Okay, the things that give life meaning, maybe. That's kind of reassuring.
It is. But then he draws a distinction. He talks about the most important ways, but also the still very important ways.
Ah, okay. And what about those?
Those, he says, will be wildly different from any time that has come before.
And the biggest question mark
is just how far beyond human intelligence we can actually go. We're apparently about to find out if there's a ceiling, and if so, how high it is.
Wow. Okay. And this leads into his idea about a dawn of abundance, right? Driven by two key things.
Yes, exactly. He argues that in the 2030s, intelligence and energy are poised to become wildly abundant.
And he sees those two as the main things holding us back for a long time.
Pretty much. The fundamental limiters on human progress.
So if you suddenly have tons of cheap intelligence and cheap energy, what then, according to Altman?
He says that with that abundance, plus good governance, that's a key caveat.
Right, important if.
Then we can theoretically have anything else. It paints this picture where the main limits on solving problems just dissolve.
That's a huge claim, a future not limited by brain power or energy.
It's profound. But then, how does this actually play out? If the change is that big, why call it gentle?
Yeah.
How do we get there without it feeling like a total shock to the system?
Right. How do we adapt?
This is where his idea of wonders becoming routine comes in. It's about how we humans adapt, how our expectations just keep rising. He uses some good examples.
Like what?
Okay, so maybe the first time an AI writes a really beautiful paragraph, you're just blown away, speechless.
Yeah, seems magical.
But almost immediately your brain shifts. You start thinking, okay, nice paragraph, but when can it write the whole novel?
Yeah, the goalposts move instantly. Your baseline for amazing just resets.
Exactly. Or, it makes a life-saving medical diagnosis incredible. But the next thought is, okay, when can it find the cures?
From diagnosis to cure, from a small program to
building a whole company.
Right.
This constant progression, he argues, makes these wonders feel routine and then table stakes.
So the singularity isn't one moment, it's this continuous process of capability increase and us just getting used to it.
That's the idea. How the singularity goes, he says. It's an ongoing, accelerating curve, not a single point.
Okay, so what's driving that acceleration? He talks about a few feedback loops, right?
Yeah, several mechanisms. What's maybe the biggest one he points to?
Well, the impact of AI on doing AI research seems huge. He mentioned scientists already saying they're 2 or 3 times more productive using AI tools.
Right. So using today's AI to discover tomorrow's AI faster.
Precisely. It creates this powerful self-reinforcing loop. He calls it a larval version of recursive self-improvement.
Larval version. Interesting. So not quite AI improving itself entirely, but close.
More like humans using AI tools to dramatically speed up the human process of AI research and development, finding new algorithms, designing better hardware much faster. He even speculates it could compress, say, a decade research into a year, or maybe even a month.
Wow, a decade and a month. That just changes everything about timelines.
Completely. And there are other loops, too, like the economic one.
How does that work?
Just the sheer amount of money being made from current AI that funds the massive infrastructure build-out needed, all those giant data centers.
So more value creation leads to more investment in the foundations.
Which enables even more powerful AI, which creates even more value. It's a classic flywheel effect.
Got it. And he also mentions automated production.
Yeah, he thinks that's getting closer, too. Things like robots building more robots, or data centers kind of automating their own expansion.
Robots making the robots that make the chips. That feels like another gear shift in acceleration.
He gives this really vivid example. Think about building the first 1 million humanoid robots using current methods. Hard work takes time.
Okay.
But once you have that first 1 million, they could potentially operate the whole supply chain, mining, manufacturing, logistics to build way more robots, more chip factories, more data centers, much faster.
So the rate of progress itself starts to automate and accelerate.
Exactly. Production scales exponentially. And this connects directly to another big prediction he makes about the cost of intelligence.
Right. The intelligence cost convergence.
Yeah.
What's the idea there?
He predicts that as building all this infrastructure at the data centers, the robots gets more and more automated. The actual cost of running the AI models, the cost of intelligence, should drop until it's close to just the cost of the electricity needed to power it.
Intelligence basically becoming as cheap as energy. That's wild.
It is. It's a really mind-bending concept, and he throws in a surprising little detail to make it feel a bit more concrete.
Oh, yeah.
He mentions an average ChatGPT query uses about 0.34 watt-hours of energy.
Which is how much in real terms?
Tiny, like what an oven uses in just over a second, or an efficient LED bulb in maybe a few minutes.
Huh. That's way less than I would have guessed intuitively.
Me too. And he adds the water usage is minuscule too, like 1/15 of a teaspoon per query.
Okay, so while the total energy and water use for billions of queries is enormous.
Right. The cost per unit of intelligence is already surprisingly low and heading lower, which makes the idea of scaling it up to insane levels seem maybe slightly less resource constrained than you might think initially.
Okay, so we've got this picture. Rapid tech acceleration, intelligence and energy getting abundant and cheap. This sounds like it's going to cause massive societal changes. He must talk about the downsides, the challenges.
Oh, absolutely. He's very direct about the very hard parts.
Like what specifically?
The big one everyone thinks about. Whole classes of jobs going away. He names that explicitly. It's a major, major concern.
Yeah, that's usually the first question, right? What happens to people's livelihoods?
He doesn't brush it off, but he tries to balance it by pointing to the potential upside of all this change.
Which is?
He argues that because the world could get so much richer so quickly from this AI-driven abundance, it might actually make new policy ideas we never could before suddenly feasible.
Like UBI, Universal Basic Income, things like that.
He doesn't name specific policies, but that seems to be the implication. Social safety nets that seem unaffordable now might become viable in a world awash in AI-generated wealth.
So the solution to the disruption AI causes could actually be funded by the wealth AI creates.
That seems to be the core of his argument there. He doesn't think society will just flip a switch to a new social contract overnight.
No, that seems unlikely.
But he thinks, looking back, say, a few decades from now, the gradual changes we make year by year will add up to something huge, a really different society. And he uses that historical analogy.
The subsistence farmer one, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. He says, imagine showing a farmer from 1,000 years ago some of our modern jobs, sitting at a computer, managing social media, designing software.
They'd think it was bizarre. Maybe not even real work.
Exactly. They'd see it as fake jobs because their reality was just about basic survival. Compared to that, our work looks like a game.
Okay, so the point is?
He hopes that 1,000 years from now, people will look back at our jobs today and think they were very fake.
But they'll feel important to the people doing them then.
He has no doubt they will feel incredibly important and satisfying to the people doing them in that future time. It's about how our whole definition of work and meaning just evolves alongside technology.
We adapt, find new purposes. He also mentioned something specific about humans, an advantage we have over AI.
Yeah, something fundamental. He suggests we humans have this long-term, important, and curious advantage. We are just wired to care deeply about other people.
What they think, how they feel.
Exactly. Our social connections, our empathy. And conversely, he says we don't really care that much about machines on that level.
Interesting. So that human-to-human connection remains unique.
He seems to think so, that innate social drive is something AI might simulate but maybe not truly replicate in the same way, which kind of ties back to his main theme, the relativistic singularity.
Right. How does he connect that radical change with the feeling of it being gentle or manageable?
He basically argues that actually living through this period of intense exponential change will feel, quote, impressive but manageable.
Because it's step by step, not one giant leap.
Precisely. The singularity happens bit by bit, he says. The merge between us and AI happens slowly over time. He uses the analogy of climbing an exponential curve.
How does that work?
When you look forward up the curve, it looks terrifyingly steep, almost vertical. The future seems impossibly different.
Oh, okay.
But when you look backward down the curve you've already climbed, it looks relatively flat in comparison.
So it feels like one smooth curve when you're actually on it.
That's the idea. And he gives that great example to make it feel real. He asks you to think back to 2020.
Okay, 5 years ago.
If someone back then had told you that by 2025 we'd have something getting kind of close to AGI, how crazy would that have sounded?
Pretty unbelievable, honestly.
Right.
Way more disruptive than maybe 2030 sounds now.
Right. And yet, living through these last 5 years, I mean, yeah, AI progress has been stunning, but has it felt like reality completely broke for most people day to day?
Not really. It felt like, well, 5 years of very fast progress, but still 5 years.
That's the relativistic part he talks about. The change is huge objectively, but relative to our daily lives and our ability to adapt bit by bit, it feels more gradual. But, and this is crucial, he's very clear, this doesn't mean we can just sit back. There are huge challenges we need to tackle now.
What does he flag as the most critical ones?
Safety is number one, both technical AI safety, making sure the systems do what we intend, and wider societal safety.
And the other big one.
Given the massive economic power these systems represent, he stresses it's critically important to widely distribute access to superintelligence.
So avoiding concentration of that power is key.
Absolutely. Essential for a good outcome, he believes.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we navigate this? What's his proposed path?
He lays out a kind of two-step approach. Step one, solve the alignment problem.
Meaning, make sure the AI wants what we want, long term.
Exactly. Ensure it acts towards what we collectively really want over the long term. He contrasts this with systems we have now, like maybe social media algorithms.
How are they misaligned?
Well, they're incredibly good at figuring out your short-term desires, right? What grabs your attention right now, what makes you click or scroll. They exploit immediate reactions.
No, even if it's not good for you long term.
Precisely. They can override your deeper long-term goals, like wanting to be productive or avoid doom scrolling or learn something meaningful. Alignment is about building AI that helps us achieve those real, shared, long-term human goals, not just optimizing for clicks or engagement.
That difference between short-term hacks and long-term values seems critical. That's good step two.
Once alignment is, reasonably well handled, the focus shifts to making superintelligence cheap, widely available, and not too concentrated with any person, company, or country.
Distribution again.
Yeah. He seems pretty optimistic about society's resilience and creativity overall. He thinks if we can harness our collective will and wisdom, we can figure this out, learn from mistakes, and get mostly the upside while minimizing the downside.
And user freedom within broad rules set by society seems important there.
Definitely. He emphasizes that this conversation about the rules, the boundaries, our collective goals for alignment, it needs to happen now. We need to start defining that.
He also has a specific way of describing what the AI industry is building.
Ah, yeah, the brain for the world.
That's the phrase. Like a global intelligence resource, personalized, easy for anyone to use.
And in that future, where intelligence is abundant, what becomes the new bottleneck?
Good ideas.
Right, the idea guys get their moment.
Yeah. He points out, in the startup world, someone who just had ideas but couldn't necessarily build them, they were often kind of dismissed. Execution was everything.
Because building stuff was hard and expensive.
Exactly. Yeah. But now, he suggests, maybe their time has come. Because if you have super intelligent tools to handle the execution,
then the idea itself, a truly novel, valuable idea, becomes the most precious thing.
that's a fascinating potential shift in what we value.
It really is. And he wraps up by basically doubling down on his core belief
Would you?
that intelligence too cheap to meter is well within grasp. And he uses that 2020 versus 2025 perspective again.
To make the 2030 predictions feel more plausible.
Yeah. To suggest that what sounds incredible now might feel just as normal looking back in another 5 years.
So, okay, let's try to summarize. Altman's essay paints this picture of a gentle singularity. It's this massive, accelerating change driven by intelligence and energy becoming super abundant.
Transforming everything but doing it sort of continuously, bit by bit, so it feels manageable while you're in it, even though the overall shift is enormous.
It's a vision with, frankly, staggering potential, abundance, amplified human creativity, but also huge flashing warning signs.
Yeah. Job losses, the absolute necessity of getting safety and alignment right, making sure this incredible power is shared equitably and doesn't just concentrate.
He ends hoping we can scale smoothly, exponentially, and uneventfully through superintelligence, which I guess leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener.
What does uneventful even mean when you're talking about something this fundamentally transformative? Is a smooth, uneventful transition even possible or desirable?
As you think about all this, what part of Altman's vision, the abundance, the job fears, the idea that massive change can feel gentle, what part hits closest to home, or maybe worries you the most, personally? Something to chew on.